Yo, 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 what's up, dough chasers? Tonight we're going to be talking about debt collector scum, some of the illegal practices that they use to try to collect money from you, and what you can do to protect yourself. But before I get started, I would like to know who is with me, where are you from, and also if you're subscribed. I was reading over this article, and where is it? Basically, it was talking about how the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau um, is finding a payday lender by the name of Cash Express. And the company is actually located in Tennessee. They have 300 retail outlets in Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, and Mississippi. And basically, they provide high interest loans, payday loans, and auto loans. And some of the illegal things that they were doing was, let me see if I can find it really quick. They would withhold money from a check cashing transaction to pay down an outstanding debt. So basically, let's say that you were looking to pay on your account $100, right? Or I'm sorry, you were looking to cash a check, right? And you were just there to cash the check because some of these places are check cashing places. You're there to cash the check and you have a particular debt with them. Instead of them allowing you to make your payment, they would withhold, $5, $10 from your check and apply that to your payment without your authorization. All right. So you know how some check cashing places will charge you 1%, $1,000. That's $10, right? So they'll charge you the 1% to cash it, and then they will withhold an additional, $5, $10. I'm just making this assumption, $5, $10 to apply it towards your balance. Okay, that is illegal. Okay, so they were doing that, and that is considered an abusive violation. And then the company will also deceptively threaten customers with legal actions over debts. How often, or maybe you have never had this experience, but oftentimes when clients call our office, they get threatened by their debt collectors that they're going to get sued, and the debt collector doesn't even sue them, right? And this is a illegal and abusive action by the debt collector, and there are repercussions when you actually take notes and you report them. And this particular company, they were threatening legal action. Hey, we're going to take you to court. We're going to sue you. We're going to garnish you. But they never followed through on any of that. So they were basically deceiving people and threatening people, scaring people to make payment arrangements on their accounts when, this is the key, the actual account was past the statute of limitations. So when a debt is past the statute of limitations, it is no longer able to be sued for, okay? That ability has expired. So the fact that these companies were threatening to sue people, though the debt was past the statute of limitations, that's an abusive manner and is in violation of the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, okay? And another thing they did was they told customers they were going to send this negative information about them to credit reporting agencies when they actually, never followed through on that. So, there's things that debt collectors can do. There's things that they can do. However, being abusive and threatening in a threatening manner is definitely their gateway to being shut down. And I'm guessing, people were reporting them, and a government entity by the name of the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau actually did an investigation, and they're forcing this company to return $32,000 to the affected people and pay a $200,000 civil penalty. And this is just the first fine that they are having to endure, right? So really quick, what I want to talk about are ways that you can protect yourself so that you don't get taken advantage of, or information that you can share with people that are going through it with debt collectors, okay? So I have 5 particular points that I want to talk to you. And this is 5 ways to protect yourself from debt collectors, okay? The first way is you can actually control the communication. There are a few things under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, and this is the actual consumer law that debt collectors must abide by, okay? They can't contact you before 8 a.m. or excuse me, after 9 p.m. If they do so, take note of that, and then you can report them. That's a violation. You can actually sue them for up to $1,000 for that alone. Okay, so they can't contact you before 8 a.m. or after 9 p.m. They can't contact you at work. Excuse me. They can't contact you at work once you ask them not to do so. And they must communicate through an attorney if you're represented by one. They can't communicate about your debt with third parties, meaning they can't share information about you to your employer, your neighbors, your family. They can't basically call your mama and say, hey, your daughter owes us this bill. We need you to satisfy it. Okay, that is a violation of the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. And again, all these are violations. If they do so, you can actually sue them for up to $1,000. Once you request them to cease contact with you, they can't call you over the phone. Okay, all communication must be done in writing. However, when it comes to you telling them not to contact you at work or telling them not to call you at all, that information must be done in writing. Someone just made a good point, and they said to never admit to owing the debt, I believe. I think I just saw that. Let me pull up YouTube really quick. All right, so this is live. None of this is pre-prepared. This is basically me just sharing information, so don't judge me too harshly, okay? Let me see if I can pull up that comment, though. Okay. Latanya, how are you doing? Alien, never admit you owe the debt. Yeah, you never want to admit guilt. You always want them to prove it. So that way you don't put yourself in a bind when you actually could have prevented yourself from ever paying the debt, okay? So yeah, first things first, control the communication. And one way that you can control that is through actually sending them a cease and desist letter, for one, to prevent them from calling you. That is the documentation that you need, because without that documentation, they can always say that you never said so, okay? So that's one thing that you want to do. And you want to keep a copy of that, because if they do violate that right, you can report them, okay? Second thing you want to do is, second thing that you need to know is you're protected from being harassed or abusive practices, okay? The payday loan provider actually is being fined and maybe potentially shut down because of their abusive manner and illegal actions. And one thing that you need to understand is, debt collectors cannot use profane language. They cannot cuss you out over the phone or, scream at you or anything like that. They can't use violence or threaten you. Of course, we know this. But still, there are times where people are in a situation, and because they're scared of what can happen, they may end up putting themselves at risk and not understand that, they have these rights, right? They cannot call you repeatedly to annoy or harass you. Let me see here. And then they can't call you to collect a payment on your debt without first identifying themselves as debt collectors. There are a lot of janky debt collectors out here who will call you and try to have you, pay the debt. Peace out, alien. They'll try to have you pay the debt. However, they never identify themselves as a debt collector, and that's a violation of the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. If you take note of that and you report them, you can actually sue and win up to $1,000. I want you to keep note of this, okay? Because people do it every day. And then they cannot list your debt for sale to the public, okay? Let me see. So if any of these things actually happen to you, take note of them, and you can report them to the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau and also your state attorney general as well. They will do internal investigations on your behalf and potentially find these companies and shut them down, okay? Debt collectors must also be truthful. This is the third way that you are protected from debt collectors. They must be truthful. So they can never misrepresent the debt. They must always share the amount of the debt, and they must share that, whether it's past the statute of limitations, and also, legal repercussions for not paying the debt. And also they must, make you aware of who the original creditor was in regards to the debt as well. And they must answer those questions honestly. However, they don't have to, okay? Them not answering those questions does not mean that they're not answering them honestly, okay? And one way that you can actually make them answer those questions is through the help of a lawyer, okay? However, one of the strategies would be to either provide that information or not answer at all. But if they don't answer, they must cease collection efforts, okay? So that's the key. If they continue to harass you and continue to reach out to you and they haven't answered your questions in regards to the debt, they're in violation of the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, because you're inquiring on this debt and you want more information so you can protect yourself, and they're not providing that information, but they're still calling you to try to collect the debt. Okay, see how that doesn't line up? So if they don't answer honestly, they can opt out and not answer, but if they opt out and don't answer, they must cease all collection efforts, okay? Number 4, unfair practices are prohibited, okay? And what I mean by that is they cannot ask you to send them a post-dated check for payment on the account, okay? They cannot deposit any post-dated checks before the intended payment date. So they cannot ask you for it, but you can still send a post-dated check. And if you send one, they cannot deposit it early, okay? And if they do, they're in violation of the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, and again, you can sue them. They cannot take or threaten to take any of your personal property, and then they cannot collect more than you owe on the debt, okay? And sometimes, those may include fees and interest. However, they cannot create their own interest payments on top of those debts that you owe. So if they, for example, let's say that they acquired a debt from Capital One, and Capital One, charged you interest and all that good stuff, and that debt is included in the debt that they actually acquired, right? So the original debt, the original balance was $500, but when they added on the interest from Capital One, it came out to $695, okay? So they have the $695 debt. However, they cannot charge you 20% moving forward as long as they maintain the debt. What the balance was they acquired is the true balance. They cannot continue to add interest to that. And sometimes, sometimes what debt collectors do is they will continue to add those interest payments onto the account, and that's against the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. And people don't know that, so they end up paying interest on the account when the actual balance should remain the same. So never send them a post-dated check. I wouldn't recommend it because some of them are janky and some of them do not keep their promises, and they will try to deposit that earlier. Now that's not 100% true because there are some honest debt collectors. However, protect yourself. Never send a post-dated check because you don't want to take that risk, okay? If they ever ask you to send one, they are in violation of the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, okay? So the 4th way that you're protected is from those unfair practices, and by knowing that information, you know what not to do. And then lastly, where did my notes go? The debt collector must validate the debt, okay? So debt validation is huge when it comes to protecting yourself for particular debts that are either on your credit report or someone is trying to sue you for. And debt validation is all about them proving the validity of the debt and making sure that they have, 1, the authorization to do so, 2, making sure that they can provide proof that you actually owe the debt, and then 3, making sure that they actually have information that authorizes them to collect on the debt, okay? So, through debt validation, you're going to ask how much you owe, the name of the original creditor seeking payment. Sometimes you can get a statement, and then also the actual letter must include that you have 30 days to, request validity on this debt. And what often happens is when people receive those correspondence letters from debt collectors, they ignore that information. And one thing that I'm beginning to teach is that through ignoring the information that they send out to you, when they say you have 30 days to respond and you ignore that, they assume that it's true. And through your silence, you admit guilt, right? And because you have admitted guilt, they now have the authorization to report it on your credit report because you never disputed that account, okay? They send you the letter saying, hey, you have 30 days to dispute this. You never respond. Through your silence, you admit guilt. Now, because you now that you admit guilt to owing them the debt, they now have the authorization to report it on your credit report. And you could have prevented all of that by requesting debt validation, okay? So these are 5 ways that you can protect yourself. 1, control the communication with debt collectors. You have that ability. 2, you're protected from harassing and abusive practices from debt collectors. 3, debt collectors must be truthful. 4, the unfair practices that they use are prohibited, meaning that they cannot tell you to do things that may put you at risk to being taken advantage of. And then 5, debt collectors must validate the debt, okay? So I gave you a huge gem, and you need to take advantage of that, because a lot of people are ignoring those correspondence letters, and they're allowing debt collectors to report it on their credit report, which is going to end up hurting your credit score, okay? So why do I share all this information? Well, for many reasons. 1, I want you to be informed. I want you to be protected, and I want you to be empowered, right? And without this information, a lot of people are going to suffer from debt collectors taking advantage of them. However, if you have this information and you use it to your advantage, you can actually come out, 1, on top, and 2, you could possibly get paid, because if they violate your rights under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, you can take note of that, report them to the attorney, your state's attorney general, and also the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau. They can do internal investigations. You can sue them, and if they are in fact in violation of the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, you can get paid, right? However, at the end of the day, it's all about having information to empower yourself, and then using that information to empower yourself, okay? So if you are someone where you are looking to fix your credit, and you have derogatory information on your credit report that's hurting your credit, there are particular strategies that you can implement to take your credit to the next level and remove negative items off your credit report. And let me see here. One of the things that I'm offering, I'm beginning to share my strategies with people. I actually have something called Transcend Financial Academy. This is a platform where we're going to be able to share financial strategies with you to help you grow your finances, and also credit strategies to help you repair your credit and grow your credit score, so that you can use that information to grow assets and also empower yourself, your family, and your community, right? And we just introduced our first course, How to Remove Negative Items Off Your Credit Report, onto that academy. And I want to give you the opportunity to enroll and take advantage of that course and learn how to fix your credit. Now, some of you know me. Again, my name is Jason White. I'm the CEO and founder of Witness Riches. We offer financial coaching and also credit repair needs, services, excuse me. And oftentimes people want to acquire our service, but they don't have the funds to actually maintain the month-to-month pricing, right? So this is an opportunity for you to learn directly from me how to fix your credit using the same strategies that we use within our organization to help our clients. The only difference is we won't be doing it for you. You'll learn how to do it yourself. You'll be empowered. You'll use these strategies, and you'll begin to get results by removing derogatory information off your credit report, also building your credit, learning how to buy a home, learning how to start a business, entrepreneurship, obtaining the dough chasers mentality, acquiring business credit, all these great things we're going to be offering in Transcend Financial Academy. And I want to give you all the opportunity to take advantage of the information that we have to share, okay? I'm the sole instructor in this course and the academy. And if you want to get information from me directly, I highly suggest that you take advantage. Click the link that I just added into the chat area. We offer 2 affordable pricing packages. Check that over. And once you're able to enroll, I highly suggest that you get started as soon as possible. If you can, get started tonight, get that information so that you can transcend financially, okay? So one thing I want to do is I added it to the chat area. I'm also going to add it to the comment area so people can have that information. So if you're watching this video, if you're watching the replay, That information is in the comment area and also the description of this video. Click that link to enroll into our program so that you can get the information that you need to fix your credit, build your credit, start your own business, buy your first home, obtain the Dough Chasers mentality, obtain business credit, and just be financially fit moving forward, okay? So, again, my name is Jason White. I want to thank you all for your time. Use this information to empower yourself, take it to the next level, and transcend financially. I'm out. Peace.